Welcome in once again to another Johnny Torch live broadcast. The Johnny Torch program brought to you by the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. As you can see in those beautiful and wonderfully produced commercial advertisements, we spare no expense to bring you the Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye. And of course, our next issue is now officially ready for mass distribution. Actually, having a little problem with the printer, so maybe I shouldn't speak so optimistically. I ordered about 20 copies so that I could sell them online here for people that want them, and they still haven't arrived. So it's been quite a while here. I've got to figure out what that problem is. Anyway, not to burden everyone else with my problems, welcome to the show. This is, of course, a Torch News Roundup. So we're going to talk about some of the great ongoing sagas and pop culture. Some exciting stuff to talk about. We are coming to you live this glorious afternoon, shortly before our beautiful 4th of July weekend, which hopefully you've got off until Tuesday, because 4th of July is on a Tuesday this year. And it is a very hot 82 degrees here in Stately Torch Tower. It feels more because the humidity is like 99%. And of course, I suffer through it for you, my faithful fans, because if I were to turn on a fan or the air conditioner, I'm sure it would be picked up by the audio. So just give me a little kudos in the chat, if you will, for suffering in silence with the heat. Let's take a look here first before we get into the subjects at large. Of course, like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, all the wonderful things that all those great YouTuber hosts tell you to do. Please oblige me as well. But the most recent issue that we have out now, The Adventures of Bullets Bourbon Private Eye, Casebook 11, an issue for every year that we've been in publication. So Casebook 11, Man of Our Times, this is the second issue of our current story arc, which is titled Man of Our Times. And I got to get into the details of the story at a later date because we've got other things to talk about today. But suffice to say, this is a stunner. This came beautiful. I got the proof copy a couple of days ago. It is just stunning. And of course, if I do say so myself, a lot of care and work went into this one. And with every issue, it's just getting better. My techniques are getting better, and the production quality is getting better each and every time out. And I am so proud of this most recent issue. Also, of course, we are in the very early stages of getting issue 12 done. I've got some inking still to do on it. It seems to be taking forever. It's a longer book than some of the more recent ones I've done. This one is going to be, I think, 22 pages. But very, very, very excited about this. This is the ending of the first season, as we're calling it. The first season being the first 13 issues slash the first 5 stories. So there's like story arcs that take up 1, 2, and 3 parts, 3 chapters, if you will. And this one is a 3-chapter one. And again, really excited about this. We'll talk some more about this later, but you can check it out in the link in the description below. You can check me out on Twitter as well, in the link in the description below, for all the updates, for all the craziness and shenanigans I get into online. We're talking about a lot of different subjects on Twitter that I don't talk about on YouTube. And it's very interesting. Would you be interested if I did a religion and politics show? That is something I've really been wanting to do, but it's, politics has never really been my bag, but, particularly in this day and age when you really don't have freedom of speech on YouTube, it's very difficult. I think they finally announced that we can say that the election was stolen. So there's that. But there's a lot of good religious topics I'd like to get into. I keep saying one of these days I'm going to get into them, but it's like it's a difficult thing because that brings in a different audience, and I kind of feel the responsibility would be for me to continue on in that vein. If I start, I can't just do one or two videos like that and then just call it a day. So I have to be committed. I should be committed, right? That's what a lot of people would say. All right, so behave. All right, so let's get on to the first topic at hand here. We're going to talk about the Kraven the Hunter trailer that just came out. Now, are you interested in the Kraven movie? Anybody out there interested in the Kraven movie? I am not particularly, no. To be honest, they haven't really done too poorly selling me on their, what are they calling it? Spidey villain verse or something? Sony has been doing this for quite a while now. Last I heard, Venom 3 has entered production. We could talk about that too. I mean, Venom is probably the most successful at that type of thing, the anti-hero, the villain turned anti-hero, whatever. It's kind of tougher to sell that on these other characters. I think Morbius, to be honest with you, I didn't hate Morbius. Like, everybody kind of turns that into an internet joke, a meme or something, but Morbius was fine up until the last act became very, cut and paste from 30,000 other superhero or action movies. And I get the feeling that Kraven the Hunter is going to be the same thing. Now, I don't know, maybe you'll, like with Morbius, I got caught up in the story. It's a guy trying to cure himself. He ends up becoming a vampire. And then what does he do with that new power? It's basically a cut and paste here. I think the same thing's going to happen with Kraven. We already had that kind of thing happen with Venom as well. I mean, I don't really know where you are taking these characters. What is it going to lead to? I mean, they would like to have it lead to a Sinister Six movie, I suppose. And in, spoilers, in the end of Morbius, they kind of hinted in that direction that who was it? The Vulture, Morbius. Who's the other guy? There was somebody else. I don't know. But they're basically trying to lead us into a Sinister Six movie. Probably ain't going to happen because I don't think they have the rights to use the Tom Holland Spider-Man, and that would just kind of, muddy the waters of who they could use. Are they going to bring back Andrew Garfield? Probably not likely. I mean, I suppose they wouldn't use the Tobey Maguire version because they already have a Venom in that universe, and so this can't be that universe, I guess. Or they had a Venom. So very interesting. All right, talking about the trailer at large. What is it? Russell Crowe is playing his father. It sounds like he's doing the almost sounds like he's doing the Zeus impersonation there from Thor Love and Thunder, and I really don't want to be reminded of that. Sounds like it's starting to rain if you could hear that too. But and it's the origin, the history, Kraven and his brother. Now I don't know, is his brother supposed to be Chameleon in this movie? Because I know in the comics he's like a cousin or some kind of distant relation, kind of, and they tied that into the original in the original comics that they were related. I don't know what they're going at here, but he has a brother, and the father sort of mistreats him. The lion bites Kraven, and because he doesn't have the wherewithal or whatever to shoot the lion, and I guess the lion somehow imbues him with these powers as their bloods commingle. Now, in the comics, he had a potion or something that he drank from. Again, it's been a while since I read that early issue, the original Stanley Steve Ditko version, but he had some kind of potion that gave him these powers, and this, I guess, the lion. It's either some kind of weird, Lion King mumbo jumbo, or it's a, you know, radioactive lion. It's a lion that's been experimented on or something. Kind of weird. I don't know. He gets these powers. He ends up deciding to take on his father and his empire, whatever that may be. I guess he's a gangster or something. And this is the poster that we got. And in the trailer, he doesn't wear the vest, but for I think one fleeting glimpse you get of him with it, it's going to be one of those things. This is his origin, and we see him with the vest probably in the last scene, or maybe if we're lucky, the last act. But you know, this is going to be ultra violent too, and I really am not into that. I mean, I don't like a lot of bloodletting in my movies. My first reaction was he looks like Hercules. I think he was running around like a leather vest, and I was like, he looks like Hercules. But Aaron Taylor Johnson, he's a good actor. I think he kind of pulls it off. I miss the accent. I think they should have gave him a Russian accent. But see, a lot of actors nowadays, they just can't do it. You know what I mean? They can't do the accent. I mean, this goes back to like Halle Berry was supposed to have the African accent for Storm. She had it for one movie, became too cumbersome, and they dropped it because she couldn't keep it up consistently. Same thing with Elizabeth Olsen's Russian accent with the Scarlet Witch. With her, it felt a little more normal the way that she lost it, though, because she started out with the heavy accent in Age of Ultron, and then they kind of eased up on it in the next performance, and then they eased up even more in the next performance. And it kind of felt like, well, she was acclimating to the States, and she was losing some of that accent, which I guess happens if, in most cases, I guess, like if you're a Southerner and you come up north, you're gonna, if you live here long enough, you're gonna lose some of that accent because you get used to the way we talk up here. Something like that. And it felt more normal there. Here, they didn't even really try. I mean, maybe at some certain point they could have abandoned it, but I kind of felt like, I missed that kind of concept of him having the Russian accent. But of course, I don't know. In the comics, was he supposed to have a Russian accent? I don't know. I just took it that he did. So yeah, we get some impalings. We get the bear traps snapping on people's necks. We get just any number of gunshots to the head and so on and so forth. Again, this doesn't really interest me. I don't know. I mean, I might see it on DVD because I don't typically go to the movies with a rated R movie because I'm not really, like I said, into the blood and gore. On DVD, it's an easier watch. It's not big as life on the big screen, so I mean maybe. But I mean, I bowed out of Morbius too because, to be honest with you, these don't really interest me. These kind of supplemental supervillain movies. They are introducing also as well the Rhino, which you only get a glimpse of him at the end, but he does look a heck of a lot better than the Paul Giamatti version from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It looks like they might actually have him looking like the comic version. So, again, I don't know. Sony Spider-Verse is kind of confounding. I think the next one after this is going to be, what is it, Madam Web? And that's going to be with Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney, I believe, which might be a reason to check it out right there. I don't know. But again, it's kind of a hard sell. These movies are a hard sell for me. I think also coming up is a Spider-Woman movie, if I am getting that correct. Now, I'm not sure because I think Sydney Sweeney is being tapped to play the Jennifer Carpenter version of Spider-Woman. Now, in that case, there is a Spider-Woman movie also being in the production stages, I guess the pre-production stages, by Olivia Wilde, who I wish was playing Spider-Woman, but suggestions have been made. Again, rumors. I don't really know nothing about this for sure, but that Anna de Armas is being looked at to be Spider-Woman, the Jessica Drew version. So again, a lot of speculation going on. No one really knows exactly what's going to happen with this, but I don't know. At some point, will they come up with their own Spider-Man to face these villains? Will they manage to hook Tom Holland away from Marvel to get him into one of their films, into a Sinister Six film? Or will possibly, after all the background of them building up these characters, will the MCU basically take them and bring them in to the MCU at large for a Sinister Six film? Your guess is as good as mine at this point, so let me know what you think in the comments below about Kraven. Kraven the Hunter, the movie. Kraven the motion picture. All right. Next up, this is the story everyone is talking about. All the cool kids want to know. What do you think about the casting for Superman Legacy? We have our Superman Clark Kent and our Lois Lane. And I, for one, am very excited about these choices because it shows that they're doing the right thing. Now, you know, my fear was we're going to get a race changed Lois Lane because all the leading ladies have to be black for some reason now. I don't know why. That your guess is as good as mine. Superman, I thought we might get, a white actor because typically we get a British actor to play the lead on our superheroes. But I did not think they were going to get an actor that looks this close to the idealized version of Superman. I mean, this is like if Christopher Reeve and Henry Cavill were both cloned and the result was this actor. Now I want to make sure I pronounce his name correctly. Uh I don't really think I have the copy here. So I shouldn't have shut that other page. David Cornsweet. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. This is my own fault for not and Rachel. Wait a second. Let me pull this up again. Why not? Why not get embarrassed right live on the air? If you're gonna do it right. All right, let's see. David Cornsweet, and Rachel Brosnahan. If they tried, they couldn't get two actors with more difficult names to pronounce. Okay? So thank you, James Gunn, for making my job that much more difficult. Let me bring this up again. What does it say? David Cornsweet and Rachel Brosnahan. Well, Brosnahan is not as difficult, but I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce that at some point. But we've got a lot of time to get used to these names because the movie comes out, I believe, what was it, July 11th or something like that in 2025. So I think we get some time, right? I don't think it's coming out next year, is it? I don't think so. All right, so again, let's take a look here at this Lois Lane. She's a dead ringer for the comic version of Lois Lane. Dark hair, blue eyes. You can't go wrong. I am just so excited about this because when you get the casting right, you're halfway there. Now you could still ruin the movie, but when you start off on the wrong foot, like when I knew that, they cast for the Batman, they got Robert Pattinson. Not easy to get excited about. Then they cast Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, and I was just completely uninterested. And then they got that guy for Commissioner Gordon, but you can tell right off the bat here they're not trying to stunt cast the leads, and that's an important thing. Now, at some point, I don't know how they're going to go with Jimmy Olsen or Perry White, and I'm imagining that at some point the casting's going to let me down and they're going to do some kind of crazy stunt cast. Man of Steel, Perry White is black and Jimmy Olsen is potentially a girl. They replaced him with a girl or whatever. So, let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But the main thing is getting the leads right. And it looks like they got the leads right. Now, I'm not familiar with these actors. I knew David was up for this, and I said a couple of weeks ago when we did that show that he would be my choice. He's just too much looking like Superman to pass him up. Now, I would like Rachel. I thought that she would be my favorite. I thought they were going to give it to Emma McKay, though, because she was a little more Margot Kidder-esque looking. And a lot of people are like, why can't we have a hot Lois Lane? It seems like, it's kind of like a passe thing. I think Superman, the animated series, was like the last time we had hot Lois Lane, right? And they this casting really looks like they got the animated Lois Lane, and hopefully they can have her in the same purple outfit there that Lois Lane was in during the animated series. That was one of the good things about that show, though, was they alternated the colors. Sometimes she wore green, sometimes she wore red. It didn't feel like the standard animated show where everybody's always wearing the same color suit and dress or whatever every single time you see them. But apparently, uh, what is the name of the show she's on? Miss Maisel or something like that. Some streaming show or something, I guess is what she's from. I don't really know what Corin Sweat's credentials are because, like I said, I lost the notes. But like I said, what really affects me here is that when you start off on the right foot, you know that there is some fidelity to the source material. Now, in this day and age, that's not something to take for granted. I mean, like I said, we could start off with a completely bizarre casting that would not look like it, and I would be completely out of it already. But we're already hearing things that sound very strong that convinces me that we're on the right track. That Gunn is on the right track. Gunn has said that, he wants his Superman to be hopeful and optimistic. We're not going to get the Snyderverse version where he's dour and scowling and not sure of himself and all that stuff. David Cornsweet, he also has made some comments that are like-minded, where he wants Superman to be hopeful and optimistic and so on and so forth. So again, I feel like we're on the right track with this here. Now, dare I hope they're going to do something good here. I've gone on record pretty much saying I'm not really a big fan of Guns. I mean, like I said, I liked the first Guardians film. I think that's the only James Gunn film I've ever really gave really big review to. I mean, I'm trying to think. Guardians 2 was all right. I haven't seen 3 yet. I hated the first Scooby-Doo. I hate it with a passion. Did he direct the second one? I thought the second one was pretty good. So again, out of the three or four films I've seen of his, I don't know. It's kind of a 50-50 prospect. No, I didn't see the Suicide Squad. So again, his brand of humor is off-putting to me. And I think the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, he was held in check enough where that kind of humor worked. But again, left unchecked, I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't think that's going to be a problem with this film, though. I think he does seem to be wanting to do it right. One of the good things is, like, for instance, Bryan Singer, when he did Superman Returns, you could tell he was a big fan of the original Donner films. And I think the same thing holds true here, that I think we're going to get something from Gunn that harkens to the Donner version. It's not going to be in the same continuity or whatever, don't misunderstand, but I mean, it's going to have that same flavor, I think. And I think where Singer went wrong was trying to add his own spin to it. That's like we had the deadbeat dad type storyline added into it and this and that. I don't think Gunn is going to go that far off the reservation. At least from what I hear, what he seems to have said about this, which is, of course, very limited. The next thing I would really like to hear about is the suit. I really want to see the Superman suit, and I really hope it's going to be an old school, classic, brightly colored one. Enough with the dark blue. Enough with the really rusty looking red. Ugh. Give him the trunks, please. Can we please bring the trunks back? That is the Superman look. That is the iconic Superman look, and I really hope that we get that. That's the next thing I really would like to see. Now, again, that, I've got some leeway there, but I really want to see a traditional Superman suit. And a lot of people have been crying in their beer about Nicholas Hoult not getting the role. I mean, he really doesn't look the role. They're complaining about, well, he didn't get Batman, he didn't get Superman. He looks like he'd be a good Lex Luthor. I mean, if he wants the part, I would say he would probably be a good fit for Luthor. But don't cry for him. I mean, the guy got to play Beast twice, and I mean, he got his superhero moment. It's not like he was left out in the cold entirely. But I would definitely say to get him for Lex Luthor. And again, a lot of people are like, well, do we really need Luthor again? I think we get Luthor every time there's a new Superman movie or TV show. And the thing is, like I said, you can't really do the definitive take without the arch enemy. And Luthor is Superman's arch enemy. And as long as they can put a spin on it that feels genuine, I think that's the way I'll put it. It feels authentic. I think, I think that'll work. Because to be honest with you, some of the Luthors we've gotten lately have been very good, and they've all been unique. Um, the Batman v Superman one notwithstanding, but I'm thinking of, like, we got John Cryer's Luthor. It was very good, and it was a little different than the typical Luthor. We got the guy from Superman and Lois. Again, a bit of a different take, and he, sort of put his imprint on it. That's what I mean. I think as long as it feels like, you can get the genius aspect, for lack of a better term. He has to come across as very intelligent. He has to come across as seeing the big picture 4 or 5 steps ahead. That's kind of what you need for Luthor. And I think, probably Holt would be a good choice for that. If they want a Luthor that's like a contemporary around the same age, then that would probably be a good choice for him. We haven't heard anything on any other casting. I don't know if there is going to be another villain. Some people have said there's rumors that the Authority is going to be in it. I don't really know too much about the Authority. At first, I thought they meant what is the name of the other? It was in an animated film. Superman versus the was it the Authority? I don't think it was the Authority. It was something else. The Elite. That's what it was. Superman versus the Elite. I thought that's what they were talking about at first, and that I can see because that was actually a very good movie, Superman versus the Elite, because the Elite were, kind of like the anti-hero thing that is like very popular, at least was in the 90s, where it's like there's no consideration for safety and just kill the villain and this and that. And Superman, of course, being altruistic as he is, that was the right kind of story to pit him up against someone like that. Basically, if you put Superman up against a superpowered Punisher, what would happen? And it was actually a very compelling story. So if they did something like that, that might not be too bad. Again, what else do I want to see in Superman Legacy? I want to see the Superman Lois romance again. I don't want her to know that he's Superman, Clark. That is something that we've lost in this generation. It is just too darn bad, because that was always fun. I always called it the two-sided triangle, because Lois is in love with Superman, Clark is in love with Lois. Lois doesn't really want to give Clark the time of day. Clark, has some whimsy with competing against himself, but he really would rather win Lois as Clark than as Superman. And again, you lose that in this day and age, because they're going to be like, well, why is Lois so stupid that she doesn't recognize he's Superman with the glasses on? It's like you lose all the fantasy. You lose all the wonderful magic about it, the relationship, when you do that. And it's like, that's the path taken so much nowadays, like with the show Superman and Lois. It's all about raising kids, and Superman's got to be the stern dad. He's trying to raise his kids and so on and so forth. I mean, I don't begrudge the TV show Superman and Lois for taking that path, but it's like, I don't want to see that again. I don't want to see that in a big budget movie. I don't want to see Superman and Lois married. I don't want to see them having kids. I just want to see Superman taking on, bad guys, real dangers, real threats. I want to see Lois worrying about him. I want to see Superman and Lois flying in the sky, a la Reeve and Kidder, with a romantic score and this and that. Get back to basics. You know what I mean? It's like, I suffered through, again, spoiler warning for Superman and Lois. If you haven't seen that and you're inclined to see it without spoilers, then tune out for a few minutes. But that was so bad this season. I think the show, it started off it started off really slow. And then when it started picking up at the latter half of the first season and most of the second season was okay. But this season was just it was a slog to get through. It was basically just all about, you know, Lois Lane having breast cancer and basically the whole family dynamics working around that. And as I said on Twitter, I mean, add a breastless Lois Lane to the things I thought I'd never think about as an adult. I mean, uh, I just I don't see who wants to watch that. You know what I mean? Who wants to see this? I want to be taken away. I want to be enjoying a fantasy of something that I can never see in real life. There's enough trauma in my life as it is that I don't need to see somebody else's, fictitiously presented. I mean, there are soap operas for, typically that's a chick thing. Women like to see soap operas and cry over the people that are suffering and laugh with the joys of the girl getting her guy or whatever. That's why I say that something like that doesn't work in a male property. You don't want to see Superman having to reprimand his kids. You don't want to see Superman having to deal with his wife's ailments. You want to see Superman taking on the big villain. You want to see him stop the world from collapsing and imploding and all hell breaking loose. You want to see him that he's trying to win the love of his life as the little guy and not as the, God powered supreme being from Krypton. There's so many subtle layers that we've lost in the Superman character because we want to bring him down to our level. And in the modern day, we've continued to do that with Superman and Lois, with Man of Steel, and the Snyderverse version. Gosh, I mean, I think even Smallville, I didn't like Smallville, but it kind of also falls under that umbrella of the angst and the, oh, isn't it terrible to be Superman? It's not terrible to be Superman. I mean, it ain't easy. But the idea is that his shoulders are broad enough to take it. Superman can take it. You know what I mean? He's able to bear the weight of the world on his shoulders and still do the right thing. And again, that's someone you look up to. That is the wish fulfillment of the character. That's what I've always said. Superheroes in general are wish fulfillment characters, but Superman is chief among them, a wish fulfillment character. Because everybody can see in themselves Superman and say, I wish I could do that. I wish I had the gumption to do that. I know what I would do with those powers, and I would do that too. That's something we've lost with Superman because it's like he struggles, he can't get through the day. Oh, I hear all the people calling for me. Isn't that a burden? And people just put the wrong emphasis on the character, and that's why I'm hoping they're going to get away from that with Superman Legacy. I'm hoping they're going to be able to focus on what it's like to be a hero and still not get the girl and still have to get up for the 9 to 5 job and have people kind of laugh at you and think a goof. And the thing is that doesn't get Superman down. He winks at the camera. I mean, that was always the fun thing with the Max Fleischer cartoons, and I guess to an extent maybe the George Reeves show. I haven't seen that in a long time, but there was always the sense that he's like winking at the camera, like, "Gee, if only they ever knew." And because he doesn't take it to heart. He's not bitter about it that people are thinking less of him than they do Superman, because he's like, if they only knew. And it's like his own private joke, and that's kind of something also, like I said, that we've missed. We've missed that Superman has that playfulness, that he's got that side to him that's like, look, isn't this cool what I can do? I mean, they sort of overplayed that for Shazam, right? The Zach Levy films. But there is some quality of that to Superman. I mean, he doesn't act like a 12-year-old kid when he's having that kind of moment. But I mean, it's like, it's cool that he can do this. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be looked at as like, well, this is a burden. Anyway, just a few things about the Superman casting, what I hope to see in the Superman Legacy film coming up. I wouldn't even mind seeing General Zod again at some point, but they probably are going to hold off on him for a while. So who else would they use? I don't know. I like the old corny villains. You know what I mean? I always say Terra Man. Put Terra Man in the film. Cowboy with a winged horse. Why not? You know, whatever. He doesn't even have to be the main villain. Just use him. Get Parasite. You know, that would probably be a good visual villain. I don't like Brainiac. I always said that. I'm not crazy about Brainiac. General Zod, he's kind of the gold standard when it comes to like a physical challenge for Superman. So I mean, like I said, bring him in maybe Superman 3 or some kind of maybe team up movie with him in the Justice League or something. I don't know. I would rather see him take on Zod by himself though. But you're gonna get everybody saying, "Well, where is everybody else?" That's that same clarion call that everybody gives, as if they haven't read comics. I don't know. I don't get it. All right, so let me know what you think in the comments below. What do you think about this casting? I'm really excited about it. I am very hopeful. I want to, like I said, I want to be optimistic about this. I know that there is a very good chance I'll be disappointed at some point. But for now, I am going to hold on to my optimism and say, hey, we've got a pitch perfect looking Superman. We've got a pitch perfect looking Lois Lane. I'm going to take it on faith that they can act, I imagine, or they wouldn't have gotten the role. But uh, so, let's just see how it goes. As far as other things are concerned, the Fantastic Four movie was supposed to be getting cast. And now they're backing off on that, saying, you know, maybe Adam Driver isn't getting Reed Richards after all. Maybe Margot Robbie isn't getting the Invisible Woman after all. It's anybody's guess where any of these things are going, casting wise. I mean, we've really got a lot left on the table. That's the thing. A lot of people are acting like, well, the superhero genre is played out. We've got the Flash failed, and the Shazam 2 bombed, and Ant-Man Quantumania didn't do well, and it's like, how many bombs are going to go off before they stop making these films? But I see optimism in the future. I mean, we're starting over with DC. They've got one of the strongest sandboxes to play in ever. If James Gunn plays his cards right, this will be another 25 years worth of great movies. They're going to do Batman over again. We're going to get the Batman family, probably almost the first time. I mean, we did have Batman and Robin, so I mean, can't say that we didn't have a Bat Family film, but we're gonna have a Bat Family film. He's gonna reintroduce Wonder Woman at some point. They got to do it. We're gonna have a Supergirl movie coming up. I can't see where we're in a fatigue or that the films are gonna stop pretty soon somehow. I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I think the problem being is that Marvel's so screwed up with the C-listers, trying to get Sam Wilson as Captain America, trying to get, whatever her name is, Shuri as Black Panther. If they would have just recast Iron Man and Captain America, they would still be printing money right now. They would be printing money because that's what the fans want to see is the name characters. I mean, sure, there's a lot of people that are like, Moon Knight, that sounds good. And, if you don't know too much about him, you'll want to check it out. But not too many people are going to, I mean? If you're predicating the future of your universe on Shang-Chi, who is at best a C-level hero, because I think Shang-Chi 2 is in the works now. I think it's officially in the works, but with the writing strike and all, it's getting difficult to get some updates on these things on their progress. But that's what I mean. If you're waiting for your universe to take off with things like Shang-Chi 2 and who else is next in this? I mean, the Eternals 2. What else can they do? We've only got a handful of commodities left. I mean, Doctor Strange 3. He's the only legitimate, I want to say A-lister, but in reality, the character was always a B-lister. So, it's like if Marvel wakes up and starts doing something with their actual good characters, and of course, you got to remember, once they get on track with Fantastic Four and the X-Men, they should be set to go. Now, again, they could screw it all up. They could do a terrible job casting, as I expected them to do, casting the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. But if they get a good cast, they've got at least 10, 15 years worth of good stuff that they could do just branching out of Fantastic Four and X-Men. I mean, the X-Men alone, spin-offs. You could do spin-offs for the Gambit movie, the Beast movie, they could do all kinds of things, the television shows. It's the world is still their oyster, in other words. So let me know what you think about the current state of comics. I'm checking out. Well, I was talking about Superman and Lois, the television show, which again, like I said, I wasn't happy with it at all this year. It ended pretty well, the season finale, and they're going to get 10 episodes next season. Apparently, I think they're going to make it their last season, but they're going to be able to wrap it up. Good cliffhanger with Doomsday. And I think it's the first time Superman's fought on the moon since 1987. So that kind of did my heart good. But again, the season was terrible, and I think they're going to dismiss most of their characters, most of their ancillary characters, in order to cut the budget. Which the CGI was pretty good for that ending, but see, they didn't need a lot of CGI throughout the whole season because they really didn't have too much Superman scenes. That's kind of what the problem is. But also, I'm checking out the Secret Invasion with Nick Fury. Saw the first episode. Again, spoiler warning. I was really disappointed that they killed off Maria Hill because, I love Colby Smulders. I mean, I was probably the only one of like maybe 3 people that watched her show there, the Canadian Private Eye or whatever. I don't remember what was the name of that show. It only lasted about 6 episodes. But that's what I mean. I was hoping she was going to be a big part in this show. I mean, they could have really made her really a bigger deal than she was, because she was supposed to be a somewhat big deal in the Marvel universe. She kind of like holds Nick Fury's, paper clips and stuff. She really never got a chance to shine. I think her biggest moment might have been, I don't know, what was it? The Winter Soldier, maybe. I don't know. She really never got a chance to shine. And it's really sad to see that they killed her off. And I'm pretty sure that she wasn't a Skrull and that it was the real Maria Hill and that she's done. But I think the show is pretty interesting. Ben Mendelsohn, Emilia Clarke, of course, Samuel L. Jackson. I didn't see the second episode yet. I started watching it yesterday. I got too tired and I had to turn it off. But it's really pretty good. I mean, the only thing you really have to see is, I guess you'd have to see Captain Marvel to if you want to put yourself through that, see Captain Marvel before you watch it. But I mean, if you have any idea who Nick Fury is, you kind of got the idea of the character. And I thought the first episode was really good. I mean, a lot of people were saying it was boring. A lot of people were comparing it to Andor, which a lot of people love Andor, and I thought it was horrible, Andor. I mean, it had 1 or 2 good episodes. I thought Andor was awful. And people are saying, "Oh, this is the new Andor for the MCU." I was entertained by that first episode. I don't know what people are talking about. Andor to me was like a combination of like 2 boring episodes to a 3rd good episode. And I don't know, maybe that's the way it'll be at the end of the day on average. But here, just seeing the first episode, it had enough action, had enough interesting stuff to get me hooked. So I'm going to continue on with it. And maybe at the end of the season, it's only 6 episodes, I think. At the end of it, I'll do a brief review video to try to tie that up as well and let you know my thoughts on that. I think that's about all there is in the news. The only other thing I'm going to comment on here is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is coming out. I haven't seen it yet, so no spoilers. But I usually see these movies the Tuesday after, and I take advantage of the half-price Tuesdays. In a lot of cases, I don't really care about spoilers too much. I mean, like The Flash. I saw that, and like 90% of the cameos were spoiled. I mean, everybody was talking about this one and that one or whatever. I didn't want that to happen with Indiana Jones, so because it was kind of like with The Force Awakens. I went to see that really quick, and I stayed off social media as much as possible not to get spoiled. A lot of people are saying like there's some crazy stuff going down in the 3rd act or whatever. So I'm going to try to stay away from the social media and go sometime this weekend. I don't know if it's going to be Saturday or Sunday. I would hope I can do a video review, especially if I'm seeing it that early, to capitalize on having seen it so early that I could make a review video quick. I don't know when that's going to happen, though, because it depends on what time I'm able to see it. I'm not going to wait until Tuesday because, again, the 4th of July is on Tuesday. And let me wish everyone out there a very happy 4th of July. Make sure you take it easy and be careful with the fireworks. Make sure you bring home all your fingers. And celebrate your independence, celebrate your freedom, all my American brethren, anyway. And happy 147th birthday to this great nation of ours, the United States of America. She's going through some tough times right now, but let's hope against hope that there's no cheating in the election next time, which I don't see how you're going to get away from that. I honestly don't, because basically we learned in the last 2 elections that there's just no pushback to keep it from being stolen. I mean, really. I mean, Kerry Lake, that whole thing was dragged out for days and days and days, and Newsom's recall. I mean, come on. You got enough signatures to get the guy recalled, and then they lose that. You can tell there's some shenanigans going on. Anyways, we'll see what happens, and keep your fingers crossed, say your prayers, take your vitamins, and I'll see you again. Like I said, hopefully the next video will be our Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny review. And again, I'm going to review it as honestly and fair-mindedly as possible. I am not going to be one of these guys that have already told you that it's terrible and they've already had their review pre-written up and printed 3 years ago, and they just got to dust it off and change some of the names and details so that they already got it all in print, I'm sure, about, Phoebe Waller-Bridge ruins the movie and Indiana Jones looks like a fool and they made the CGI horrible. I mean, it gets so tiresome. These guys that are just continually negative, and they're just doing it for clicks. They do it for clicks, and they're so dispassionate about these things. You could tell it doesn't really mean anything to them. They just see it as a meal ticket. And, I'm not saying that the movie's going to be good or bad, really, at this point, because I haven't seen it. It's the same thing like The Flash. I mean, is Ezra Miller a jerk? Yeah, maybe. I mean, am I going to go into that film saying, this film was ruined for me because Ezra Miller's in it? No, I'm going to give it a chance. And I enjoyed it. I mean, again, is it a 5-star film? No. Did I enjoy it? Yes. Is it worth seeing? Yes. Depending on your tolerance for Ezra Miller, you're really going to like it. Or if you can't stand the sight of him, you're not going to like it. In the case of Indiana Jones, I'm going into it knowing full well it is not going to be as good as the first 3 movies. Why? Because Harrison Ford was like 40 years old during those 3 movies. I mean, he went from, I think, being like 38 to like 45 or something over the course of those 3 movies. It's obviously going to be a little different with a guy in his prime compared to a guy being 80. That doesn't mean there's not a story to tell about Indiana Jones when he was 80. In the same way, it's like, I went into Kingdom of the Crystal Skull with the same mindset. It's not going to be as good as the first 3. We already kind of know that. Is it going to be entertaining? And I thought Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was entertaining. It had a lot of the same beats as the traditional Indiana Jones films. There was the creepy crawly aspect. We had the big fights with a guy that's bigger than Indy. We had, vehicle chases. And that's kind of all I feel like, is if you go into it with an open mind, you should be able to, judge it fairly on its merits and weaknesses. You know what I mean? It isn't just it's horrible or it's the greatest movie ever, because it's probably not going to be either. Now, I mean, it's quite possible we could have a Last Jedi situation and it is horrible and it is the worst thing ever. I gotta wait and find out, though. I mean, I find it hard to believe that Harrison Ford is going to put himself into a movie knowing that the story is going to completely emasculate him and make a fool of him or whatever. So, I mean, I can't really believe it's going to be that bad. But is it going to be that good? I'm just going to have to wait and see. So let me know what you think. Are you going to see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? I will let you know my thoughts, good, bad, and indifferent, when I see it hopefully this weekend. All right, and so until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.